Some songs from childhood stick with you forever, but not always for happy reasons. The 1980s gave us incredible music, but mixed in with the synth pop and rock anthems were tracks that left young listeners unsettled, confused, or genuinely frightened. Whether it was disturbing imagery in music videos, dark subject matter hiding beneath catchy melodies, or sounds that just felt wrong, these songs left their mark on an entire generation. Here are 15 songs that traumatized 1980s kids. Number 15. Tainted Love by Soft Cell. Tainted love, tainted love. When Soft Cell released their cover of this Northern Soul classic in 1981, it became an instant hit. But for kids who encountered it, there was something deeply unsettling beneath that infectious synth beat. Mark Allman's anguished vocal delivery transformed what could have been a simple pop song into something that felt desperate and almost painful to listen to. The lyrics dealt with toxic relationships and emotional manipulation, themes that went over most young heads, but still created an atmosphere of discomfort. His voice cracked and strained throughout, sounding like someone barely holding themselves together. Tainted love, tainted love. The music video amplified this unease. Shot in harsh lighting with Almond writhing and contorting his face in exaggerated expressions of anguish, it looked nothing like the colorful, fun videos kids were used to seeing. The overall aesthetic was cold and clinical, almost medical. For children flipping through MTV, stumbling onto this video often meant quickly changing the channel. The stark black backgrounds and Almond's dramatic movements created a claustrophobic feeling. The song's relentless driving rhythm gave it an urgency that felt more like panic than dance music. It became impossible to ignore once it was playing, boring into your consciousness, whether you wanted it there or not. Tainted love, tainted love. Number 14. Der Kommissar by After the Fire. After the Fire's 1982 English version of Falco's German-language hit arrived with a catchy new wave sound that immediately grabbed radio listeners. But the song's subject matter was anything but light. It dealt with police surveillance, drug culture, and the constant feeling of being watched by authorities. For kids in the early Reagan era, already absorbing Cold War paranoia and nuclear anxiety, this song added another layer of unease about the world around them. The urgency in the vocals suggested real danger lurking just around the corner. The repetitive chorus warning about the commissioner coming to get you felt genuinely threatening. The music video featured shadowy figures, dark alleyways, and an overall atmosphere of paranoia and danger. Young viewers watching MTV couldn't quite put their finger on why the song made them uncomfortable. But the combination of upbeat music with lyrics about police raids and getting caught doing something wrong created a cognitive dissonance that lingered. The song played on legitimate childhood fears about authority figures and consequences, wrapping them in a package that was impossible to dismiss as just another pop song. Every time that warning came through the speakers, it felt like a message meant specifically for you. Number 13. Shout by Tears for Fears. Tears for Fears broke through in 1984 with this anthemic track that seemed designed for maximum emotional impact. On the surface, it sounded empowering and energetic. But for young listeners, Roland Orzabal's increasingly frantic vocal delivery, as the song built toward its climax, felt overwhelming and almost frightening. The song was actually inspired by primal scream therapy, a psychological treatment involving screaming to release emotional trauma. This therapeutic origin gave the entire production an intensity that felt more clinical than musical. Shout, shout, let it all out. The music video matched this intensity with surreal imagery, including the band members' faces distorting and stretching, religious iconography, and an overall nightmarish quality. When Orzabal screams the word shout at full volume repeatedly, it feels less like an invitation to express yourself and more like witnessing someone having a breakdown. For kids who didn't understand the therapeutic concept behind it, the song just felt like barely controlled chaos. The arrangement builds and builds, with layer upon layer of sound, until it becomes almost oppressive. Many children found themselves genuinely disturbed by how angry and desperate the whole production sounded. The way the music seemed to spiral upward into emotional frenzy left young listeners feeling exhausted and anxious rather than energized. Number 12. Rocket by Herbie Hancock. Herbie Hancock entered the 1980s mainstream with this 1983 instrumental track that featured cutting-edge scratching and electronic production. But it was the music video directed by Godley and Creme that traumatized a generation. The video featured animatronic mannequin legs walking across floors, disembodied robot legs tap dancing, and most memorably, dismembered mannequin bodies jerking and twitching in time to the music. The technical achievement was undeniable, but the aesthetic choices were deliberately disturbing. The imagery was deliberately unsettling and surreal, drawing on both the uncanny valley effect and the inherent creepiness of dolls and mannequins. For kids watching MTV, this video often came without warning, and its bizarre visuals were impossible to look away from despite how uncomfortable they made viewers feel. The jerky, unnatural movements of the mechanical legs seemed to mirror the song's stuttering, fragmented rhythm. The whole production had a nightmarish quality, like watching something that shouldn't exist. The video won multiple MTV Video Music Awards, but it also gave countless kids disturbing dreams about walking legs and twitching robot bodies. The fact that there were no people, just body parts moving independently, tapped into deep fears about bodily autonomy and control. Number 11. Dancing with Myself by Billy Idol. Billy Idol's 1981 solo reworking of his Generation X song became a new wave staple, but its title and implications were confusing and somewhat disturbing to young listeners. The concept of dancing alone suggested intense loneliness, and Idol's sneering delivery and aggressive vocal style made it feel more desperate than celebratory. The driving beat and repetitive nature of the song created an almost manic energy that felt compulsive rather than joyful. His trademark snarl added an edge of anger to what should have been celebration. The music video featured Idol in a post-apocalyptic setting, seemingly one of the last people alive on Earth, dancing alone on balconies while figures watched from other buildings. For kids already anxious about nuclear war and the end of the world, this video tapped directly into those fears. The idea of being completely alone, with nothing to do but dance by yourself in isolation, felt more like a nightmare than a party. Idol's wild-eyed intensity and the video's wasteland aesthetic combined to create something that felt threatening and sad simultaneously. The song's popularity meant kids couldn't escape it, hearing it at skating rinks and on the radio, constantly reminded of its lonely, unsettling message. Number 10. Somebody's Watching Me by Rockwell. When Rockwell, son of Motown founder Berry Gordy, released this track in 1984, it became an instant hit thanks partly to Michael Jackson's memorable chorus. But the song's subject matter was pure paranoia. The lyrics detailed the feeling of constant surveillance, of being watched in your own home, unable to escape prying eyes even in the most private moments. For children, this tapped into primal fears about safety and privacy. The music video amplified these anxieties with imagery of eyes watching from paintings, figures lurking in shadows, and an overall atmosphere of inescapable observation. The music box melody in the intro set an immediately creepy tone. Rockwell's nervous, jittery vocal delivery made it clear this wasn't a metaphor, but a genuine expression of fear. Kids listening felt that paranoia transferred directly to them, suddenly hyper-aware of windows, mirrors, and dark corners in their own homes. The song's popularity meant it played everywhere, repeatedly reinforcing these anxious feelings. The production used echoing effects and sudden sound changes that kept listeners on edge, never quite comfortable. For many kids, this song made bedtime significantly more difficult, as they couldn't shake the feeling that someone might actually be watching them. Number 9. Sledgehammer by Peter Gabriel. Peter Gabriel's 1986 breakthrough solo hit featured groundbreaking stop-motion animation in its music video. While the song itself was actually quite playful and suggestive rather than dark, the video's imagery disturbed many young viewers. Gabriel's face morphing and distorting, covered with various objects and creatures, hit that uncanny valley sweet spot of being recognizably human, but fundamentally wrong. The stop-motion technique, though innovative, gave everything a jerky, unnatural quality. Fish swimming through Gabriel's hair, fruit exploding on his face, his features transforming into clay and back again. These images were simultaneously fascinating and deeply unsettling. Kids watching couldn't look away, but also couldn't shake the discomfort of seeing a human face treated like modeling clay. The video won numerous awards and played constantly on MTV, meaning there was no escaping it. The song's driving rhythm and Gabriel's vocal intensity added to the overwhelming feeling. Despite the upbeat tempo, something about the whole package felt aggressive and invasive. The experience of watching the video was visceral and sometimes nauseating, with its extreme close-ups and constant morphing imagery. For children used to more straightforward visuals, this avant-garde approach felt more like a nightmare than entertainment. Number 8. Red Red Wine by UB40. UB40's reggae-tinged 1983 cover of Neil Diamond's song became a massive hit, but its gentle sound concealed troubling subject matter. The song dealt explicitly with using alcohol to cope with emotional pain and heartbreak. For kids hearing it, the repeated refrain about wine making things seem fine presented drinking as a solution to problems, a message that felt confusing and somewhat troubling even to young listeners who didn't fully understand it. The melancholy tone beneath the smooth production was unmistakable. There was sadness in every line, a sense of defeat and resignation that even children could pick up on. The song portrayed someone drinking alone, to forget someone they loved, unable to move forward in any healthy way. That image of isolated drinking to escape emotional pain was inherently depressing, painting a picture of adult life that seemed bleak and hopeless. For kids who had parents or relatives struggling with alcohol, the song hit even harder, seeming to validate destructive behavior. The way it normalized drinking as a coping mechanism, wrapping it in a pleasant musical package, made it somehow more disturbing than a harsh song about addiction might have been. Its commercial success and constant radio play meant the message reached children everywhere, repeatedly. Number 7. Legs by ZZ Top. ZZ Top's 1983 hit seemed straightforward enough on the surface, a blues rock song with a catchy riff. But the music video told a different story that made many young viewers uncomfortable. It featured a narrative of 3 women being followed and watched by the band members, who then give one woman a complete makeover, and a car in an act that was portrayed as benevolent but felt controlling and somewhat creepy. The video's male gaze was impossible to ignore, even for kids who didn't have that terminology yet. The way the camera lingered on women's legs and bodies, combined with the storyline of men deciding to transform a woman's appearance, created an unsettling dynamic. The women in the video seemed more like objects than people, existing primarily to be looked at and judged. For young girls watching, this reinforced uncomfortable messages about appearance and male approval. The song itself, with its grinding guitar riff and lyrics focused exclusively on women's legs, reduced women to body parts. The video played this up, featuring countless shots of legs walking in high heels, detached from the full humanity of the people attached to them. The whole production had an objectifying quality that felt wrong even to viewers who couldn't articulate why. The video's massive popularity on MTV meant this imagery reached millions of young viewers, shaping perceptions during formative years. Number 6. London Calling by The Clash. The Clash's iconic 1979 single, released in the US in 1980, painted an apocalyptic vision of societal collapse. The opening guitar chime immediately created tension, and Joe Strummer's urgent vocal delivery drove home the song's catastrophic predictions. For kids in the early 1980s, already anxious about nuclear war and Cold War tensions, these lyrics amplified existing fears about the world ending. The song referenced nuclear threats, environmental disaster, and complete social breakdown. Strummer sang about the Ice Age, coming and living by the river with nowhere else to go. These images of total collapse felt frighteningly real to children raised with duck-and-cover drills and constant news about the threat of nuclear war. The apocalyptic tone wasn't abstract or fantastical. It felt like a news report from the near future. The album cover, showing bassist Paul Simonon smashing his bass guitar, added to the sense of destructive energy and frustrated rage. Everything about the song communicated anger and fear about the world's direction. For young listeners, it confirmed their worst suspicions that adults had created an unfixable mess. The song's power came from its conviction. Strummer sounded absolutely certain that catastrophe was coming, and that conviction was terrifying. Number 5. People Are People by Depeche Mode. Depeche Mode's 1984 hit asked a simple question about why people hate each other based on differences in color, background, or belief. While the message was ultimately about tolerance, the song's dark production and the way it confronted human cruelty head-on disturbed many young listeners. Dave Gahan's deep vocal delivery and the song's pounding industrial beat created an atmosphere of anger and frustration. The music video featured military imagery, violence, and a bleak aesthetic that matched the song's serious subject matter. For kids, the song forced uncomfortable awareness of hatred, prejudice, and violence between people. The lyrics explicitly referenced different colors and backgrounds, making racism concrete rather than abstract. The overall tone was accusatory and challenging, demanding answers for human cruelty that kids couldn't provide. The song's approach to these heavy topics wasn't gentle or age-appropriate. It was confrontational and unflinching. Young listeners found themselves thinking about hatred and violence in ways they hadn't before. The relentless beat and repetitive questioning created an oppressive feeling, like being interrogated about humanity's worst impulses. The song offered no comfort or easy answers, just the stark reality of human cruelty and division. Number 4. Bette Davis Eyes by Kim Carnes.
She got Bette Davis eyes.
Kim Carnes' 1981 #1 hit featured her distinctive raspy vocals describing a woman with dangerous, seductive power. For young listeners, particularly girls, the song presented femininity as something predatory and threatening. The lyrics described manipulation, deceit, and using sexuality as a weapon. The overall portrait was of a woman who could destroy men for fun, turning romantic relationships into calculated games.
She got Bette Davis eyes.
The production had a dark, sultry quality that felt adult and somewhat threatening. Carnes' gravelly voice added to the sense of danger lurking in the song. The way it described Bette Davis's eyes as a tool for manipulation suggested that beauty and femininity were inherently deceitful. For children forming ideas about relationships and gender, these messages were confusing and somewhat disturbing. The song's success meant it was inescapable in 1981, playing constantly on radio and becoming a cultural phenomenon. Young people heard it everywhere, absorbing its cynical view of romance and seduction. The femme fatale archetype it portrayed felt threatening to boys and set impossible, problematic standards for girls. The overall message that beauty equals power equals manipulation created uncomfortable associations that stuck with listeners.
She got Betty Davis eyes.
Number 3. Don't You Want Me by The Human League. The Human League's 1981 massive hit told the story of a relationship's end through alternating perspectives. But beneath the catchy synth-pop surface lurked something darker. The male perspective in the song came across as possessive and threatening, warning the woman that she'll come back because she owes her success to him. The overall dynamic suggested control and emotional manipulation rather than genuine love.
Don't you want me? You know I can't believe it.
The music video, set in a film noir style, amplified these darker undertones. The male character's insistence that the woman would be nothing without him felt controlling and ominous. Young listeners picked up on the toxic dynamic even without fully understanding relationship psychology. The song's tension built from disagreement to what felt like confrontation. The woman's perspective in the song tried to assert independence, but the man's response suggested he wouldn't accept her leaving. For kids listening, this presented relationships as battlegrounds of control and debt rather than partnerships. The song's end left things unresolved and uncomfortable. Its placement as one of the biggest hits of the early 1980s meant millions of young people absorbed this troubling portrayal of romance, possibly shaping expectations about relationships in subtle but lasting ways.
Don't you want me? You know I
Number 2. Relax by Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
relax. Don't do it when you wanna go to it.
When this song hit in 1983, it immediately generated controversy with its sexually suggestive lyrics and provocative music video. The BBC banned it, which only increased its notoriety and appeal. For kids, the song represented something forbidden and adult that they didn't quite understand, but knew was inappropriate. The ban meant the song dominated discussions and generated intense curiosity. The music video featured imagery that was overtly sexual and transgressive for its time, including BDSM references and homoerotic content. Young viewers who caught glimpses of it or saw stills in magazines found the imagery shocking and confusing. The song's driving beat and Holly Johnson's vocal delivery had an aggressive sexuality that felt overwhelming and somewhat frightening to young listeners. The relaxed t-shirts with the provocative slogan became hugely popular, meaning kids encountered the song's imagery even outside of actually hearing it. The controversy around it made it feel dangerous and forbidden, adding psychological weight beyond the song itself. For many young people, this was their first encounter with explicitly sexual content in mainstream pop music, and it felt transgressive in ways both exciting and disturbing.
Relax. Don't do it when you wanna go to it.
Number 1. In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins.
I can feel it coming in the air tonight.
Phil Collins's 1981 masterpiece became legendary partly for the dark story that circulated about it. According to urban legend, Collins witnessed someone drowning while another person refused to help, then invited that person to a concert and confronted them with this song while shining a spotlight on them in the audience. While this story was completely false, it became so widely believed that it fundamentally changed how people experienced the song. For kids who heard this legend, the song transformed from a moody breakup song into something much darker, a musical murder accusation. The famous drum break that comes partway through felt like a moment of violent confrontation, the sonic equivalent of a physical attack. Collins's vocals throughout sounded angry and accusatory, building tension toward that explosive release.
Seen your face before, my friend, but
The music video's stark, dramatic lighting and Collins's intense performance reinforced the sense of brewing violence. Young listeners felt the tension building throughout the song's verses, leading to that thunderous drum break that hit like a hammer. The idea that the song was about witnessing murder and seeking revenge gave it a weight and darkness that no amount of explanation could fully dispel. Even kids who learned the truth about the urban legend couldn't shake the associations once they'd been made. The song had entered their consciousness as something dark and violent, a confrontation between killer and witness, and it stayed that way. The combination of Collins's vocal intensity, the dramatic production, and that devastating drum break created something that felt genuinely dangerous. For children in the 1980s, this song represented adult emotions and situations far beyond their experience. Anger, betrayal, revenge, and confrontation taken to their absolute extremes. These songs were part of the soundtrack of childhood for 1980s kids, but they came with a psychological price. Whether through disturbing visuals, dark subject matter, or just an overall unsettling atmosphere, they left marks on young minds that persisted for decades. The combination of catchy melodies with genuinely troubling content created a strange phenomenon, where songs you couldn't stop humming were also songs that disturbed your sleep. That was part of what made 1980s music so memorable. It wasn't afraid to get dark, even when kids were watching and listening. If these songs brought back memories, both good and bad, leave a comment about which one affected you most. And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more nostalgic deep dives into the music and culture of decades past. Thanks for watching.